welcome to the fight against fascism. So today, for a change, I'm not going to be talking about the proto-fascists that are threatening this country. I'm actually going to be talking about the current government. Because let's face it, they are an absolute disgrace. And I want to go through 10 reasons as to why it is that they are collapsing and why it is that none of us should trust them. So I'm going to start with number one. So number one is really to do with their incompetence when it comes to communications. They're just really bad storytellers. They don't know how to sell anything that they've done. There are some things that they've done that I approve of. They've increased the minimum wage. They gave a pay supplement as well to NHS workers, GPs, which they were due to. You know, inflation had been massively eating into their wages, so I think it was fair that they did that. They're looking at a renters' rights bill. We'll see exactly how that transpires. There are other measures that they've taken as well, I'm sure, that aren't completely terrible. But when do they go out and sell those measures? When do they go out and actually make the case in any meaningful or convincing fashion? They're terrible when it comes to political communications. They don't understand the power of social media. They don't understand the importance of getting out there and actually dealing with new media when it comes to selling your achievements. So that's one issue. The second issue is that they seem to be stuck in a time warp. They think that they're doing politics as if it were back in 1997 when Tony Blair came to power with his massive majority. Politics has changed massively since then. The economic foundations have shifted, and that many people's economic realities have shifted with it. So you can't play the game as if it were 97. It's no longer good enough to try and split the difference between left and right, to basically embrace Thatcherism, but with a smiley face, using government surpluses to spend on education and health, because there aren't any government surpluses anymore, because we've sold everything to the private sector, and growth is completely flatlined, because economies are no longer performing to a high level. So the game has changed, but Labour are still acting as if the last 28 years never happened. Linking to that, another issue that Labour have is the fact that they have a far too cosy relationship with the rich and special interests. We know about Lord Ali and his relationship with Keir Starmer. There's also the Israel lobby, and I'll come on to that a little bit more later. But it seems that this government is doing everything it can to have as cosy and as intimate a relationship as possible with those who are wealthy, with those who are part of the establishment, the City of London. Everyone needs to be kept happy, except for the ordinary man and woman. They're detached. They don't seem to be focusing on or really caring about the experiences of ordinary individuals. That's how it comes across. Part of that is to do with the messaging, and that, of course, links back to the point that I made at the beginning of this video. The next issue is the fact that they seem to just not really understand the economic challenges that we face. They made a commitment in their manifesto that they wouldn't increase income tax, VAT, or national insurance. They already increased national insurance. They did that almost immediately. They claimed, oh, well, it doesn't count because we only increased it on employers. But of course, that reduces jobs, because if it's more expensive to employ people, companies are going to have to reduce their recruitment drives, right, for financial reasons. And now we've had this statement, this 20-minute rambling statement saying nothing, which basically was clearly a preamble for, guess what, we're going to break our manifesto pledge again. We're going to increase income tax. Most likely that is what is going to happen. We're going to find out in a few weeks' time for sure. But clearly Rachel Reeves was coming out giving a pathetic speech, basically laying the groundwork for increasing taxation in a way that breaks the promise that they made in their manifesto. Again, proof it's not the 1990s anymore, because guess what? Labour didn't have to break their manifesto pledge back in 1997 when they made the same pledge to stick to Conservative spending plans for the entirety of their first term in office. Labour aren't going to have a second term, so they're breaking all of their promises now. It's not the 1990s anymore. They clearly don't understand the economic reality of the situation. They keep talking about a £20 billion black hole that, guess what? Pretty much everybody who knows anything about economics was talking about before Labour got in office. So for them to pretend that they didn't understand the financial situation that we're in is disingenuous. It's an outright lie, and nobody's buying it. It's pathetic. There's also the fact that they are generally inconsistent and incoherent when it comes to their messaging. That's another problem that they've got. On the one hand, they want to talk about islands of strangers. They want to mimic Enoch Powell, and then suddenly they want to have a go at Farage for being racist. Yeah, by all means, have a go at Farage for being racist, but why were you mimicking Enoch Powell just a few weeks earlier? What are you? You Arthur? You Martha? You don't know, do you? It's just, you're not going to build a constituency of support if you don't know what you stand for. There's the fact that they're trying to pathetically court the right. Yeah, so that's why they do the Enoch Powell speeches, because they want the right to come on board and say, look, we're going to stop the boats, we're going to deal with immigration, on the one hand. But then, on the other hand, they don't want to be racist, right? Yeah, they want to talk about being a party that has values, a party that sees the importance of multiculturalism and diversity. They don't know. They don't know what they believe in. And that's ultimately because they don't believe in anything. And I think that's another point that we can move on to. The fact that they don't have any commitment to anything. Their ideology is so wishy-washy that it basically doesn't exist. There's nothing anchoring this current government. They don't stand for anything. They don't believe in anything. So how can they fight for anything? They're not fighting for me. They're not fighting for you. The only people they're fighting for, arguably, are those special interests, the City of London and the Israel lobby that I mentioned before. And even some of you, just on this point, were saying, how could they be fighting for the Israel lobby? Weren't they just going out of their way to recognise a Palestinian state? Yeah, sure, but they're still involved with supporting Israel. And again, I will come on to this. There's the fact that they trashed their traditional support base. They literally said, if you don't like what we're doing on the left, again, their traditional support base, then you can leave. There's the door. Going into the election, you had a bunch of Labour councillors defecting. They said it was the Labour Party shaking off its fleas. Yeah, this is the way that they talk about their traditional support base. You've had Angela Rayner, who was the former Deputy Prime Minister, supporting action to give a real terms pay cut to bin collectors, to refuse collectors in Birmingham. This is supposed to be a Labour government. You're supposed to stand for Labour. You're supporting real terms pay cuts. Never mind about not giving people a pay rise to match inflation. You're cutting public sector wages now. You're in support of this. You're alienating all of your traditional supporter base. How the hell do you expect to do well in the polls if that's your attitude? There's the fact that they have a leader who lies about literally everything. When Keir Starmer became leader of the party, he said he would continue Corbyn's manifesto. What did he do? He junked everything. We have a leader of a party who said he was going to nationalise key industries. And then a year later, he changed his mind. We have a leader of a party who stood on a manifesto to say we're not going to increase income tax, VAT, or national insurance. They've already broken the pledge. As I said before, they're going to break the pledge again going forward. They lie about everything. They lie about everything. And that is epitomised in their leader. He's got no commitment to anything that he says. He'll say one thing one day, he'll say another thing the next day. He's not fighting for anyone because he doesn't stand for anything. That's a key problem with this Labour Party. It doesn't believe in anything. And we're at a time where we need leadership, we need guidance. This is the worst party you could ever imagine to try and claim to provide something of that nature. And finally, and I've been building up to it, this party has supported a genocide. It's a Labour Party, a Labour government that has provided F-35 fighter jet parts so that Israel can continue its genocide of the Palestinian people. It is a government that was going out of its way to fight for the rights of Israeli football hooligans to come to this country when you already had West Midlands police say it would be a risk to our security. You already had riots that took place in Holland with these Maccabi Haifa fans. That is the Israeli club in question. But this government was so desperately determined to fight for the Israel lobby, to fight for the Israeli government. Again, going back to that stuff about the Palestinian state, it's just optics. That's all it is. It's optics to cover up the fact that deep down they're doing everything they can to support Israel without being too obvious about it. They're providing intelligence to Israel, intelligence which almost certainly has been used to kill innocent civilians because they're in bed with that lobby, they're in bed with special interests. That's all they care about. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. So this is a disgrace of a party, a disgrace of a government who has let everybody down. But the horrible thing, the truly horrible thing, I have to say it, reform would be even worse. They would be more consistent in their messaging. It will be clearer to see what they believe in. But they're liars. Let's be honest about it. They do believe in their racism. They do believe in their their bigotry. But they don't believe in doing anything to help the common man. They don't believe in doing anything to actually deal with the real issues, cost of living, genuine economic crises that we're facing. They don't care about that at all. They're wedded to the City of London. They're wedded to special interests, somehow even more so than this government is. They would take a situation right now, which is pretty dire, where you've got a government that is flailing, that doesn't know what it wants to do, that doesn't know what it stands for, but kind of does stand for the City of London, and they'll be replaced with a government who knows what it stands for rich people getting even richer and screwing over ordinary people. But they're going to lie to you. They're going to lie to you, and they're going to tell you that they care about you. They're going to tell you that they care about your wages. They're going to tell you they care about your standard of living. That somehow reducing the wages, which is what Reform want to do, on young people, cutting their minimum wage, is somehow going to make them better off. Great. Not only is it going to affect young people, it's going to affect the households those young people are in, who are going to have less money to be able to pay board, to contribute, in a situation where we're already in a cost of living crisis. So this Labour government is pure and utter trash. Reform would be even worse. We are in a dire situation, folks, which is why we need to look to alternatives, genuine alternatives. Not people are going to lie to you, but people that are going to tell you the truth, who are going to stand up to power and actually do something to structurally reshape the society that we live in. It's what we're crying out for right now. We need to listen to people like Richard Murphy, who is telling us what we want to do, what we need to do economically. We need to listen to people like Gary Stevenson, who is making profound arguments as well in terms of what we need to do about equality. We need to listen to people on the left of politics, because only the left has the answers. We have to face it. Only the left has the answers. When the real issue that we're facing right now is inequality, and that is the real problem that Labour are not interested in addressing, that Reform are going to make even worse, then only the left can provide the solution. I do not say that as an ideologue. I say that as a man of common sense. Men and women of common sense, as well as compassion, and as well as those who believe in human dignity, come together, join me, click like, click subscribe, join the fight against fascism, and join the fight against wishy-washy, pointless centrism. And let's actually do something to make this country better.